I love researching and studying the best in the world, whether that's business, entertainment, and especially sports. And Michael Phelps was one of the best athletes of all time. He collected more gold than anybody else on this planet. And I decided to do a bunch of research on this guy to understand what actually makes him tick and what makes him the best in the world that has nothing to do with his training program that most people solely focus on how many laps he does, the weight room, all the physical activities, but they neglect something that is even more important than that. And so I want to share a story, and then I also want to share the findings that I found from all the research that I did on Michael Phelps. What's up, guys? Nico Rapklis here. We talk about all about entrepreneurship, mindset, personal development, and how it has a lasting impact on the performance of entertainment, sports, business. Okay, so let's dive in. So I want to share a quick story about Michael Phelps that really opened my eyes. I heard about it way back when it happened, but I was doing some research on it again recently, and I was making a post over on my Instagram profile about it, and it was just really insightful. And I really wanted to take you through it, and then additionally, I want to take you through the research that I've been doing recently on Michael Phelps from this story because it's absolutely insane. All right, I want you to imagine this, okay? You're standing on the blocks. You're about to jump into the water at the Olympics at Beijing, okay? This is the final race, okay? It's going to determine who gets gold, who gets silver, and who gets bronze. And it's also going to determine who gets absolutely nothing. And you've been training for this for the last 4 years straight every single day. Stakes are kind of high, I guess. The buzzer goes off, you dive in the water. Now, I really wanted to put this into perspective. Okay? Immediately as you dive into the water, your goggles just go off your head. There's water in there, it's all over the place. And you, again, are racing for gold. That was the situation Michael Phelps was in. Okay, he's been training for the last 4 years straight. Okay, everything's on the line here. We're in Beijing. Okay, this is an opportunity to win gold. But you can't see. You're blind. What do you do in that situation? I just think it's really important to put ourselves in that perspective. Like, that's the reality that Michael Phelps was in. But I have a quote that really stuck with me for the longest time. It said, "Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better." Okay? And that's exactly what Michael Phelps had been training for the last 4 years. But instead of just what most people will do, and they'll just train in terms of how many strokes is this going to take? How many times am I going to have to flip around at the ends, right? How many times do I have to lift the weights? Like all that stuff, like all the stuff that is vitally important to swimming and racing and doing it at a fast rate. But here's the thing is that most people completely neglect, and this is what makes Michael Phelps the best in the world and why he has so much gold around his neck, right? Well, he utilized his mind in a very powerful way. So here's the thing is that our minds cannot differentiate what is real and what is vividly imagined and emotionalized, okay? And so Michael Phelps' coach, not only did he have him go do the actual race in the pool to train for that, not only did he have him lift in the weight room and everything else that comes with the nutrition, everything that comes with being an athlete and training for the Olympics. But as we talked about, is that our minds cannot differentiate what is real and what is vividly imagined. And the whole point of us practicing over and over and over again is to get the reps, to get that muscle memory to show that like, okay, we know exactly what we're doing when we're in the pool, right? And that's all great, but the mind cannot differentiate what is real and what is vividly imagined, okay? That's a writer downer, okay? So what did Michael Phelps' coach have him do in addition to training inside the pool? He trained inside of his mind, right? He knows that what is real and what is vividly imagined is the same in the mind. So it's like, okay, we could get, a handful of reps, maybe a dozen reps a day physically. We could probably get about 100, 200, 500, 1,000 reps a day of the same exact race in our mind. And what's Like what we talked about, what is real and what is vividly imagined, there's no difference in the mind. So it's like, why would we stop ourselves at a dozen races per day when we could get 1,000 reps per day? That doesn't really make any sense to me. That probably doesn't make sense to Michael Phelps, and that's in fact why he did it. But it's how he visualized, right? It's how he visualized. Because one, he just went through the reps and he just did it over and over and over again. He saw it, he felt it, he felt the pace at which he was making the strokes, and he just did that over and over and over again. But on top of that, in addition to just visualizing how it went perfectly, like what most people will do, if they even do visualize at all, is he also visualized everything going wrong. He visualized his goggles coming off. He visualized his cap coming off. He visualized being behind significantly. He visualized running into the rope. Like every little thing that he could do, he would visualize something that went very poorly, and then he got back on track. Okay? And how he responded to that challenge. And that's the key here. That's all the research that I discovered after with Michael Phelps, in addition to a couple other things that I'm going to share here in a little bit. But he visualized things going horribly wrong and then how he responded to them. Because again, the mind cannot differentiate what is real and what is vividly imagined. So if he saw that his goggles fell off, he's like, oh shit. But he stayed calm. He visualized that. He's like, all right, I'm good. I'm going to keep stroking and I'm going to keep going. And then he visualized that. And then he visualized his hat coming off. He visualized running into the rope. All these things that terribly went wrong, but he visualized how he responded to it. And he visualized, okay, he came out on top on that. And so that is exactly what happened in Beijing. Michael Phelps dove into the water, got completely blind, lost his goggles. They were filled with water. And because of the fact that he visualized this instance more times than we can count, he continued on that path. So he was in fact blind the entire race at Beijing, and he kept going, he kept going, he kept going. And because of the fact that he knew every single little stroke with his arm, with his leg, with everything, I mean, he just knew it. It was muscle memory by 10,000 reps, right? As opposed to dozens and dozens of reps like most of the other athletes did. And again, no shame in that, but why would we stop at physical activity when we know the mind cannot differentiate what is real and what's vividly imagined, right? So what was the result? Well, obviously we all know it went down, and he won gold. He swam the race blind. He didn't have his goggles. They were filled with water. He went back and forth until he hit and won at Beijing. That's insane. He had no sight, but he had muscle memory because he had thousands and thousands of reps inside of his mind, because the mind cannot differentiate what is real and what is vividly imagined. That's crazy. And we're going to sit here and say that that visualization is a little woo-woo. It doesn't make sense. Like, are you kidding me? He proved it exactly. And so that's the thing that inspires me so much about people like Michael Phelps, is that they have this dedication to their craft like nothing else. And they're looking for every advantage possible, okay? They're not looking for something that's going to take 4 seconds off, because they've reached a point where nothing they can do takes 4 seconds off of their race. But they are looking for all the little micro nuances, whether it's like how they strap their cap on, how they put their goggles on, what they do the night before, how they train a week before, how they visualize in their mind, whatever it is. They're looking for that micro nano improvement, because they know every little microsecond counts. And so the more they do that, more they get those reps, it's just inevitable that they're going to win, right? On top of all the training, on top of all the physical training. So like, obviously, like I shared, like I've had a rich experience with visualization, whether it comes to my business, or it comes to my athletic career back when I played baseball. I even played other sports and applied this type of stuff. But it's how we see it in our mind, because the mind cannot differentiate what is real and what is vividly imagined. All right? So if you really want to excel at the highest level, why are you not using every advantage possible? So, I was so inspired by stuff like Michael Phelps and even my sports career that I created a whole company that helps athletes, CEOs, business owners, entrepreneurs utilize their mind in the most powerful way, because visualization doesn't always come easy to people. In fact, they don't even know exactly what to visualize. They're not clear on and focused on what they want to visualize. That's why we created the vision quiz. Increases clarity by up to 108% in less than 20 minutes, in addition to the focus with the clarity. So you can increase that in less than 20 minutes because we created a technology to help you do that, and we've got the data that backs it up. So if you want to go check that out, click the link down in the video description. But here's the other thing that I want to share about Michael Phelps that I did some additional research on recently. And he was talking about his goals, okay, as it currently stands. And he says, I have my goals right next to me right when I wake up. Why does he do that? He wants to know why he woke up. He has them right there so we can just look at it. It's the first thing that he looks at every single day. And it's also the thing that he looks at right before he goes to bed. Why does he do this? Well, let's come back into the whole concept of the subconscious mind and the identity, okay? So here's what happens is, like, a lot of people will take the actions, they'll do the affirmations, and that's great, but until it becomes into your new subconscious story, it doesn't really change that much. So if you say that you want to be, an entrepreneur that's making $1 million a year, if you say that a couple times, great, but it's not really going to change the fact unless you're actually installing that into your subconscious, because our subconscious is really what controls our entire life. We have our conscious mind versus our subconscious mind. And you want to think about it like the conscious mind is the jet pilot, but the subconscious mind is the actual fighter jet that's on autopilot. And so here's the cool thing is that the conscious mind can determine what and where the fighter jet is going, because it has to reprogram the autopilot. That's the only way that it can happen consciously. But then it has to install and has to make sure that that change actually happened in the fighter jet, the subconscious mind. Because if you just say like, hey, we're going north, I want to go south. And then you're like, all right, I want to go south. And then you just push a few buttons, but it doesn't take. And then the fighter jet, what happens? It's still going to go the same exact direction. But if you know how to program the fighter jet as the fighter pilot, then you can say, all right, I want to change the autopilot to actually go south, even though we're going north right now. And you program it, boop, 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 boop. It turns around, it's going south, and that thing is going south no matter what. Okay, you can't change, you can't come in and take the wheel, it's going south, right? And that's the same thing with what's going on with our lives. Okay, our conscious mind is great. It's what we're doing right now. It's what we're listening to. But we have to know that our subconscious mind, our fighter jet, is going north right now, whatever that is for you. Maybe you're making $10,000 a month in your business or whatever, and you want to turn that into a $1 million business, right? $1 million is going south. 100K is going north. You're currently going 100K, but you want to go south. You want to go $1 million. Until that thing is reprogrammed into the subconscious, into the autopilot of the subconscious, you are staying to 100,000. You might have a year where you make 150, maybe 200, but you're certainly not going to consistently outperform your self-image. Maxwell Maltz talk about this all the time, okay, in the book Psycho-Cybernetics. You will never consistently outperform your self-image. You will never consistently outperform your identity. You'll never consistently outperform whatever your subconscious is programmed for. Okay? Understand that. You have to change the programming in the autopilot to say the fighter jet's going south. Okay? How do we do that? Well, Michael Phelps is on something. Okay? He puts his goals first thing right next to his bed. Okay? Right as he's waking up, right as he's going to bed. Why is this? Well, think about the subconscious as the most open and the most receptive in those times right as you're waking up and right as you're going to bed. Why? Another little parable, anecdote that you can think about this. Think about how there's a bouncer at the door of your subconscious saying, no one's getting in. Nothing's getting in. Nothing's coming in and changing anything around this parts because I'm blocking it right here. And that's what it is. However, that bouncer takes some breaks. He has to go to the bathroom. He's got to sleep a little bit, right? When does that happen? It happens right as the subconscious is waking up and right as it's going to bed. Okay, that's just how the subconscious works. I didn't make up the rules here. So when you're waking up and right as you're falling asleep is the best time in the world to start reprogramming your subconscious mind. Okay, And that's why Michael Phelps has his goals right next to him. And even there's deeper levels that you can do this where you don't have to like just sit there and read and look at it. You can also do it with audio. And that's what we've done a lot in our company called Vision Espresso, where we have people literally listening to their future self talk to them, that reprograms them to believe that they are actually going south, the $1 million business as opposed to the 100K business, or whatever their vision and their goals are. It doesn't matter. It just depends on like what your goals are. And again, most people have no clue on what their goals are, what their vision is, what they want to create, the identity they want, what they want to reprogram their subconscious into. And again, that's why we created the vision quiz. So again, click the link down below if you want to go check that out. But I strongly encourage you to take these principles that we've learned from Michael Phelps and how he's collected more gold than anybody on this planet, and how you can apply the same principles that he does. Visualize over and over and over again. Your day-to-day, but also the big picture stuff. As I mentioned in a video the other day, like I'm constantly visualizing going to Greece, hanging out with my family, the infinity pools, looking over the Mediterranean, seeing that, feeling that, hearing that, like to be so immersed in that. But I'm also visualizing everything throughout the day. I visualize making this video. I visualize I'm going to go hit a workout now. I visualize going to get all my work done, getting my presentation ready for tomorrow to present in front of about 20 entrepreneurs, right? Then I'm going to visualize going in front of a group next week at a retreat in a Laguna beach house, right? And then I've also visualized doing these bigger deals with solar companies that with them cutting me 50K checks over and over and over again. Like those are the things that I'm visualizing, as well as the end destination, the end points where I'm traveling with my family to Greece and the infinity pools in Santorini with the whitewashed buildings. Like that's how specific, but I do it over and over and over and over again. And that's exactly what I did in my baseball career. And that's when I went from places where I was striking out 4 times in a game to the very next game hitting walk-off home runs. It's insane how powerful this guy is if we utilize it correctly, okay? So go use it correctly. Use it the way Michael Phelps did. Let me know what you got out of this video in the comments. Let me know if you're going to start doing this, because when you share this stuff, it actually retrains your brain to actually give you the accountability that you're actually going to do it. Because most people, that's the biggest thing that they need, is they just need accountability. You watching this video and then just going on the rest of your day really does nothing for you. So what are you going to do now? All right, guys, thanks for watching this video. We'll talk to you on the next one.